And I've read that you mentioned you underestimated the amount of emotion at the beginning, didn't anticipate how much anger would be directed your way. And that you talk about this evolution that you had over this almost 3-year period of going from a buy the books attorney to a rabbi, a priest, and a nun. If you could speak to that evolution.
Yeah, at the beginning of the 9/11 fund, you approach it as you would an airplane accident or a flood or earthquake. I underestimated somewhat the fact that the fund was created by Congress just weeks after the attacks. There was no time to deliberate or allow passions to cool. This was raw in your face. And it took me a while to appreciate that anger and that emotional reaching out, flailing away. I was the sole representative of the United States government in this fund. And the fingers were pointed at me. How could the US government allow this to happen? I lost my wife. How could the government be asleep at the switch? And no matter how much I tried to explain, that wasn't on my watch. It took a while for people to realize that I really was there as a neutral third party trying to help people move on financially. Eventually, I won the day, and the movie points this out, and the book points this out. Eventually, all but a few rallied around the fund, and we distributed over $7 billion of taxpayer money in that 33-month period.
Were you pleased with the outcome?
Yes, I was pleased. Congress wanted to minimize the number of lawsuits against the airlines and the World Trade Center. Congress wanted to exhibit to the world the generosity and compassion of the American people. And if statistics are any indication, 97% voluntary agreement to come into the fund. I believe Congress felt that the fund was a stunning success. Just don't do it again, but it was a stunning success.
And for those listening that may not be as familiar with this, what would have happened had there not been this consensus? At least 80%. How bad could things have gone?
Well, families would have hired retained lawyers. Lawyers would have brought lawsuits against the airlines, the World Trade Center, Massport, the Port Authority of New York, the private security guard companies, and the airline manufacturers. And it would have been a real mass tort Donnybrook that could have very adverse impact on the nation's economy and on the public relations of the United States. And I think Congress had that in mind when it created this alternative option. No lawsuits. Go into this fund voluntarily, listen to what Feinberg has to say, collect your money, sign a release, done, move on as best you can. And that's what worked.